Hi friends, today we are going to see a new topic called as the artist of Falska. Rana, Sikha, Raman and Falka. Rana the writer, people call him. Tall, beard with a sharp feature and a sharper mind. Usually dressed in a jean and a white t-shirt. Rana wants to make it as a novelist. His friend with a shikha, a struggling yet promising painter, making a name for herself locally. They common friends. Raman is a photographer. All three have decided never to take up a regular 9 to 5 jobs. They would rather do anything but the 9 to 5 routine. They met regularly at the Hindustan Cave, a popular and hip joint. Whenever they want to chat, they head towards the Hindustan Cave. Or whenever they want to sit quietly, they take a refuge at Hindustan Cave. When they are now here to be found, inevitably they will be at the cave. Rana, the writing in Rana's life. He has already written poems, articles, columns, travelogues, short stories. These are almost nothing he has written about. A poet at heart, Rana now wants to make it as a novelist. He wants to write a book that will make a people think and rethink. He is confident that what he has to say is, though provoking enough. He has read almost all the legendary authors the worlds have produced and he wishes to be one of them. What made him start writing? As the youngest child of a busy parents, Rana had a lot of time for himself while growing up. Once he picked up a book named The Storytellers about the life of an renowned writer from every part of the world, and they became his inspirational ever after. Shikha. Shikha is an intently talented painter in search of beauty. There is an interesting story behind her taking up paintings. No, it has nothing to do with her childhood. In fact, she started painting quite late when she was around 22 years old, and today, at 28, she is confident enough to know that she can paint for living. What took her towards painting? One day, Shika was watching a television while her little nephew was painting. She watched him mixing the colors. It was quite enchanting. She was mesmerized by the way of a drop of red blended into pearl white. She watched intently until the color got completely mixed. That's what the turning point in her life and the inspiration behind her talking up paintings. Raman. A picture paints 1,000 words. A good picture is beyond words. That's what's Raman's belief. Raman, the photographer. Raman is a wildlife and a nature enthusiast, and his mission as a photographer is to capture the beautiful planet Earth in all its color, composition, hues and shades. He believes that there's beauty in everything, one just needs to have an eye for it. On his last birthday, his girlfriend gifted him a Nikon DSLR, and since then, life has been a roller coaster ride for him. Why photography? In his own world, as a kid, I was immensely active to the point of being hyperactive. I never wanted to be home. I always wanted to explore, go out, meet new people, and see new places. I developed a deep interest in nature, especially dense forest. When I grew up, I traveled whenever I could. And one day I met a travel photographer. He seems to be a serious kind of a person through when I started talking to him. I realized he wasn't. He took a life very lightly and his photography seriously. Like me, he has been traveling alone, but he had a DSLR camera in his hand. During our conversation, he told me that a traveler is a traveler, but a traveler photographer is a thinking traveler. That made a huge impact on me. It was Sunday. The monsoon were over Falaka. The creeping of the birds and insects now added to the beauty of this small town. Surrounded by a dense forest, Falka abounded with a beautiful flora and fauna. Deer, black ducks, peacocks, stunning migratory birds, and of course, the mandatory dogs and cats. The three friends, or as usual, were sitting at a Himalayan cave staring out of a window. Hindustan Cave was a red and a white two-story building, a mix of a British and Indian architectural style. It stood right amid the forest that surrounded Falaka. All three friends believed that it was Falaka's inspiring nature beauty that had helped them develop interest in the art. The waiter served the H Caf, the trademark coffee of Hindustan Cafe. The coffee has been Christianized thus by one other than Rana, who has one been a copywriter and still had the habit of coining new and interesting names. The owner had also changed the item from coffee to H Cave in the menu. H Cave was so popular in Falka that there were a family outings just for H Cave. College students have a special H Cave outings to celebrate a birthday party, examination success, or selections in a competitive exams. There were three things the people of Falka couldn't live without: coffee, cricket, and cinema. All the three things gave them hope and made life worth living. But how? Coffee, because it gave them an excessive to take a break for their routine work and meet up with the friends old and new. I would give a guy an opportunity to make up with a girlfriend and the girlfriend an opportunity to have some quality time alone with their boyfriends. Many a girls have been proposed to over a cup of a coffee. Numerous differences has been resolved over it. Futures has been planned. People had come closer, romances had flourished, love had happened, secret kisses had been stolen, ideas thought out, plans made. All thanks to the aroma and the magic of a coffee. This one drink was indeed a nectar for the people of Falka. Their lives revolves around HC Cafe. There, then there was a cricket. Everyone from the senior citizen to toddlers played the game in the abandoned open space in Falka. They believed that in a cricket as in a life, you have to stay patient, focused and determined. There were about a dozen local cricket teams in Falka which would compete with each other round the years. The game has given many a moment of a joy to the people of Falka, and the game of the crickets now ran in their blood. It gave them the hope whenever they were down and out. Even if one ball took someone's wicket, the next ball could be hit for a 6. This very uncertainty made them love the game. It made a metaphor of a life for them. Then there was a cinema. There were 3 single screens hall in the town, and everyone from the grown-ups to the growing-ups were fashioned about the movies. Falka was a small town and only the hits and the super hits were shown. Just any other movies didn't get shown here. And the people were now used to see the quality films. Those who wished to see some lesser known and artisty type of movies, mostly the intellectuals and the scholarly kinds of guys, would head to the nearby city. And so life went on and on. Falka, Falka, land of the lands, brimming with life, beauty and dreams. Falka, a piece of love, the land of bliss. My father wants me to get married to a guy he has chosen, said Shika in a very serious tone, adding, he wants me to marry this banker guy because he has a secure job. He believes that I will have a stable and a secure future with him. Do you really wanted to get married? Asked Rana. No, I have no interest in getting married. At least not in the near future. I want to make my name as an artist first. Marriage may or may not happen. I am not thinking about it at all, replied Shika. Then go and say no to your father. Do not stress over it. It is your life. Take it in your own hand. Don't let the others decide the course of your life, replied Rana in his loud, deep and authoritative voice. Raman was sitting with them at the Hindustan Cafe and listening to their conversation. Being more of a listener than a speaker, remember, he had left the task of the words to Rana. He believed that it was better to be a man of a few words. In the meanwhile, he has been kneelingly observing Shika's expression. Why was Shika talking like this today? It was most unlike her. Was she really interested in finding a solution, or she just want to vent her emotions? Sometimes girls just want to let it all out. He was keen to find out. But if I say no, mused Shika. But she was interrupted by Rana. I don't know the story after you, but all I know is that your buts and ifs will get you into more trouble and your story will always remain the same. It will confuse you even more. I suggest that you say no and tackle the situation that ensues. He continued. No, my question is what is the most important thing in your life? What gives you the joy most? I feel happy when I paint, said Shika matter of factly. So do you have a better thinking about painting only? Other things will automatically fall into the place. Don't waste your energy thinking about all this crap. Shika was silent. She didn't say a word. She had got the answer. That's what happened when someone talked to Rana. He had the hank of clearing all the confusion in the minds of a people he communicated with. People came to him confused and left with a sense of direction. Rana, the writer. Interestingly, Raman was still listening and hadn't spoke a word yet. Now there was a deep silence at their table at Hindustan Cafe. Rana had spoken, Shika had listened, and Raman was quiet. It was a kind of a silence that one usually finds after a storm. So deep, so thick, so profound. It was a rare kind of a calm we wait for in life, but seldom first. Now Raman broke the silence, speaking in a sad voice. My father too doesn't understand a thing about photography. That's fine with me. Many people don't understand. But when he says that it was a stupid thing to do, I don't know what to say. I try to reason it out. But whenever that happens, his voice rises. He shouts like anything and says things which he won't not otherwise say. He thinks that because I could not do anything worthwhile in the life, I ended up as a photographer. He has absolutely no faith in me. I think that this is the case with most of the people in India who chooses to take a different path. It happened with me. It's happening with you. And it happens with Shika. There is nothing new in that. Our society is designed that way. They want people to be like them. Average. Following the herd, obedient, never questioning, always compromising. If you take a different path, and that means breaking the rules, society will be scared of you because by taking an altogether different path, you are shaking their very structure of being average, doing average, staying average. Don't listen to what society says. It is a kind of a herd mentality. There will be absolutely no trouble when you follow. The trouble starts when you question the established. And that's when your life begins, said Rana. Empathetically gesturing with his hand, he continued. So don't give a damn thought to what your father says or people around you says. Just follow your passion. Your father is a part of a whole society structure. Don't blame him. Don't blame anybody. It is a structure that you have to overcome. Nothing more, nothing less. Even I have to face the stiff resistance from my family. But I have never bothered to try and explain everything to them. I'm just doing what I love, and that's what is making me happy. Life ends the day we are unhappy. Since we have decided to be an artist, we have been facing stiff resistance from our families and societies. See the people who have chosen the most common and professions: engineering, medical, management, and civil services, and how proud their parents are, commanded Shika. Stop talking about society. Stop it, interrupted Rana, his voice rising. There was a profound stillness now. All three pounded in silence, looking out of a window when they would look out of a window, that when they would see not the usual traffic, congestion, and the filthy city street, but greeny kids playing in the garden, a flock of birds flying, a temple with the devotees, they would see a painting. This unique view for Hindustan Cafe windows have the power to make them forget the world. It calmed them like a tranquilizer. I have seen many people giving up their passion just because they did not have the luxury to continue with it. Either they could not bear stiff resistance from the people around, or they were a financial problem, or it might be that they did not persist. I have seen many a great artist who just gave up and ended with a regular life, said Raman. looking out of the window. This is true, absolutely true. But it is not going to happen with our life, said Rana in a grim tone. We will end up as an achiever in our professions. I have been thinking about something. Let me tell you. Yes, yes, go on, said Shika, excited. Rana continued. First, we will never to be a regular 9 to 5 job. The reason behind it is once you start working in an office, contentment gets into your gradually. You lose focus, divert from your passion, and eventually lose the determination to pursue your passion. I believe that the office is for the regulars, those who follow the herds. People like us who wish to follow their passions should work solo their whole life. Office is not going to help us in any way. If we wish to make it big in the field of an art, we should live like a free spirit. Second, come what may. However, through the condition may be or how bad the scenario is, we are not going to give up our passion never. Third, we should leave Falka now and go on our journey to the place that will help us hone our skills. Falka lacks the resources, exposures, and drive. It is a quiet town that we all love. But for a better tomorrow, we are left with no other option than to leave this town. Let me hear. Let's meet right here at Hindustan Cafe the day we are all successful. The idea seems cool to me. I had similar thoughts in the mind, said Shika. Agreed, said Rana. This is our last meeting. Now we will be meeting the day we are re-owned. Let's start our journey today. They all met up for one last time. Rana was calm and composed as usual. Raman said nothing, and Shika was all tears. They had all grown up together, played in the street of Palka, studied in the solo garment school, gone to the same garment college, shared everything. It was tough for them to part away, but they were finally parting ways and going into the unknown. Somewhere in their hearts, they were excited that they would be going out to make their own destiny. They were thrilled, a thrill that have a mix of a joy and sorrow. They hugged each other and returned to their homes. They had to chalk out their own paths now. The sun had set in Falka. It was pitch dark. The town that had shaped Rana, Shika, and Raman was quite dark and cold. It was a winter night, and the surrounding greenery made the town colder than usual. People were gauzy in their homes. The occasional wood fire could be seen burning. Those who ventured out wrapped themselves in the shawls from the head to the toe. A few stray dogs could be seen, barking at unknown things. Cows were back in their sheds. The town's few street lights lighted up their half streets halfly heartily. That was Falka's night life. Quiet, tranquil and inspiring. Quite the opposite to what we see in the city. Falka's ambience and surroundings could inspire the people to produce a great work of an art. Towns like Falka had a magic wands with them which the city dwellers would never understand. Falka, the magic town. I'm going to leave Falka in a few days' time, said Shika to her father. I knew it was coming. You modern day girls, you have no respect for the traditional and the family values. You girls just want to leave the confines of a home and the life like the free birds. I knew it was coming, said her father, looking at Shika's mother. It seems you want to escape all the responsibility, you want to escape the world, but how long will you run? I'm not running, Papa. I want to become a renowned painter. It is my dream. It is my passion. I want to make a name for myself. Painting gives me the utmost joy. I'm going to learn finer points of painting under Mr. Ghosh, the renowned artist. He saw my paintings once and expressed his wish that I work under him. Crap, totally crap. What are you going to get out of paintings? And besides, I have heard this painter's name. Many people paint the world over, but only a few make it. The rent ends up either as a beggar or as an unemployment lotus. What is in the painting? It is an absolute waste of time. What are you doing will fetch you nothing. Absolutely nothing. It gives me a joy. It is my passion. It is mine. You have gone mad, shouted her father, furring all over his face. When it is the time to get married, settle down and have a kids, you are thinking about painting. Papa, marriage will happen sometimes, but for the time being, I'm going to work under Mr. Ghosh. Go, go, you have never listened to me. Why would you do so now? Shouted the father. Her mother was silent, watching the scene. Papa, trust me. Her father didn't say a word. Her mother was silent as usual. Shika, the painter. Mother, I am going for the higher studies to the US in a few months' time. I will be leaving Falka. I have applied to some US universities and I am waiting for the replies. I will be doing a PhD in literature on John Steinbeck, the Nobel Prize winning author. After that, I will come back to India and pursue my writing career. But for the coming 2 or 3 years, I will be in the US studying literature and understanding the country, said Rana. Tell this to your father. He has already agreed. He has no problem with what I do. Okay, but why do you want to go to US for further studies? You can study here also. People do PhDs in India also. There is no sense in going to US. Besides, it will cost a lot of money. How will we arrange that? Why do you want to waste money by studying in US? Mother, it is not the waste of money studying in US. It is an investment for my writing purist. Besides, I won't take a single penny from you and Dad. I have already saved enough money to apply the US universities. I have also applied for the scholarships and I will be getting them as well. So my studies won't be a burden on you. Don't worry, mother, I will manage everything. But son, nobody respects a writer. Try to understand. Even if you become a writer, what will happen? People respect the officers, MBAs, engineers, doctors. Who is going to respect you? And I have seen the writers go hungry and live on the next to nothing. They have no money, no power, and no influences. Mother, I have no interest in money, power, and influence. All I'm interested is in writing and writing and writing. I just want to excel as a writer. Other things don't interest me. Do you understand? But son, the world runs on money and stop it, mother. I'm talking about higher studies and you're talking about money. Money, money, money. Life is more than just money. Please stop it. The conversation ended abruptly and Rana went to his room, thinking that his mother would never understand him. His mother went into the kitchen thinking that her son didn't understand a thing about life. She believed that he lived in his own world, out of the tough with reality. Since the day Rana had dropped out from IIBM, his mother had harbored such thought. He has dropped out of IIM and joined MA English because he wanted to study the literature and become a writer. But his mother was convinced that he had dropped out because he was incompetent. She had a strong belief that Rana was less intelligent than his siblings, who were in the civil services, management, and computers. Rana knew this, but he couldn't change the way she thought. And all he could do was accept and move on towards his goal. Rana, the writer. What the hell are you talking about? Shouted Raman's father. That's you won't work. If you don't work, what will you eat? Do you want us to feed you forever? Talk sense. You will die hunger if you don't work. Papa, even if I don't work, I won't ask for a money from you. I'm going to live in jungles among the tribals. I love nature. I want to be a photograph the beautiful forest of India and if possible all over the world. I will be living in the forest for the next few years. What nonsense you are talking about? You are our only son and you have decided to live in the forest? Is this a joke? His father yelled, confused by his son's decision. Raman's mother had burst into laughter at the conversation between her son and husband. She was a light-hearted, simple woman who had always supported her son to pursue his dream and make a name for himself. But her husband was unable to understand his son. Her husband thought that he was an absolute good for nothing. He believed that he had become a photographer because he could not do anything else in the life. He was even ashamed of telling his colleagues and friends that his son was a photographer. He would rather say that he was doing nothing than says that he was a photographer. He used the word like dirt, crap, filth, and shit to argue with his son. He was an employee in the municipality of Falka. So these words had become a part of his regular vocabulary. But Raman was a quiet and a calm as usual. He knew that his father would shout and then probably agree. So he let him shout. While at the same time his mother had a great time watching them argue. Raman loved his father, so he made sure that he never shouted back. He would just listen and then go out to pursue his fashion, photography. My mom and me, when I was a kid, I asked my mom for an apple. She said, go, get your apple from the table. When I grew up a little more and started going to the school, I asked my mom for a banana. And she said, go get your bananas from the storeroom itself. And when I started going to the college, she would ask me to eat all those fruits from the canteen. Sometime later, when I got a job, my mom asked to bring home some bananas, apples, and mangoes. That was the day I realized that we have now exchanged our roles. Raman, the photographer. Journeys, Raman's journey. I am in love with nature so much so that I feel reinvented and inspired when I am among the flowers, trees, birds, animals, rivers, and expansive horizons. The delicate morning dews have always inspired me to go on photographic sojourns. It's nature that has inspired me to shoot their myriad forms. God's creativity is infinite. I want to capture it all. I am going to live in the wilds with the tribals and shows everything that it is beautiful and touching. Yes, I'm going to become one of them, one among the tribals. I have been with them in the past, but that was a small period of time. Though I got the basic idea of how they live, this time it is going to be different. I am going to be one of them, understand this way and how they coexist with the nature. And that's because it has been always surprised me how beautifully they coexist with the nature. They seems to be in amazing harmony with the leaves, branches, flowers, rivers, bushes, animals, and so on. And how happy they seems. It is because they are in a perfect harmony with the nature that they seems so joyous, amazing, because they protect the nature. Nature protects them. I am a nomad. Values in the heaven, in the sky. Beauty everywhere. I am a nomad. The doors of a love are open. The doors are open everywhere of a gold hearted people. My heart is full to brim with joy. I am a nomad. Infinite horizon here, infinite horizon there. Whenever I see the horizon wants to hug me, I am ready to fly. I am a nomad. Desire in my heart, God in my breath. Many reasons to live, but I live because I am a nomad. Yes, I am a nomad. Raman chose to live with the tribals in the jungle of Hastur. The very next morning, he packed his bag and took a bus to Hastur. He was very excited and thrilled. He had been thinking about this journey for a long time and finally he was going to do it. His joy knows no bond. He was going to capture the forest, fabulous images in the forest, and then he had a plan to turn them into an exhibition. Thought that was in the future. For the time being, all he wanted to do was to relish his day in the jungles. The bus he has taken had been going to at his own space, making the most atrocities sounds. It was a government bus. Sometimes the clatter and the rattle of the bus shocked him to the very core. But he had no options, and even that was going to drop him at his destination. He would have to take a jogger, a vehicle made with a combination of an automobile engine, another automobile's body, and a few other engine parts. Even that was not going to drop him to Hastur. He, ha- he would have to walk along 12 to 15 kilometers to reach the place he wanted to settle in. Being internet savvy, he had done through the research on where to go, how to go, which place was most feasible, how to survey in jungle with the minimum means, and eventually how to live in jungles. The bus dropped him at the place where the road ended. Now he could see a dusty, half-trodden path. He started looking for a jogger so that he could go another 5 kilometers until he reached the narrow interior road that would take him to the tribal settlement. After waiting for around 30 minutes, an empty jogger came, with nobody in it except an old driver. He signaled it to stop and got into it. Along the way, the driver kept looking at him again and again without saying a word, wondering where this person from the city was going and why. After around 20 minutes, the jogger dropped him at the place where there was no road further. Just an half beat, dusty, narrow, and a rough path. Now Raman had a way to find his way. He alighted from the jogger, stretched himself while looking at the skies, and stared at the dense jungle that stood before him. He was quite mesmerized by the intensity of the jungles. It seems to so mysterious, so profound, so intense, and it gave off a very unique smell and feel. One felt like going back to one's root, to the prehistory days from one who started millions of years back. Indeed, it was like going back to one's origin after years and years of traveling, wandering and sweating. Raman was getting that feeling and was thrilled. He started walking on the narrow path, which seemed more like a tunnel because it was lined by a huge trees arching overhead and blocking all the sun rays, even in the afternoons. Raman walked on, the deeper he went inside, the stranger it seemed. He had still to walk straight for around 12 kilometers if he wished to reach the tribal settlements, so he kept on walking. Now he could hear an unusual sound in the profound quietness that pervaded. He was animated and all keyed up. After walking for a few kilometers, he began to see the flowers, trees, bushes, and exotic plants which he had never seen before. Thus, had such a strange patterns, styles, designs, colors, shapes, textures. He was stunned looking at them. He could see some flowers glowing like a light bulb, small color insects, and some other unique creatures which he had never seen in his life, all living in an absolute harmony with each other. The flowers. I was relaxing on my lawn on a sunlight day and reflecting on a certain pointless things, surrounded by the lively trees and humming birds, lilies, daffodils, and dahlias, while the gleaming sun was doing the daily task of giving us the hope. The lilies and the daffodils and the dahlias were playing games with the gentle morning breeze, making a mellifluous sounds like Lobi's music, and it was strange to see them dancing with a delectable delicacy. I thought the scene was like a Picasso's painting or a Vincent van Gogh sketch, making an internal impression on the mind. Lilies, daffodils, and hables, oh, now angelic, they are God. They are like the elegance, the truth, and the charm, and they have such a magnanimous heart, such pleasant creation and mysterious magic, like unexpressed love, ha, innocent flowers. To Raman, the jungle seems like a mixed up world where everybody was occupying everybody's space. But in a magical way, it was so beautiful that he didn't even want to move forward. All he wanted to do was to stay there, watch them, a photographer them. But the low light prevented that. So he kept on moving in the hope that there might be a better world waiting for him deep inside the forest. After a few hours of walking, Raman saw some lights in a huge bowl shaped clearing. This grassy patch was surrounded by a magnificent, lush green mountains, a lake with a crystal clear, pure blue water. Sunlight strengthened down on the water and the land alike. Raman couldn't stop himself from taking out his camera. He was quite startled by the absolute beauty the scene offered. He had seen the photographs of tribal hinterlands, but he had never come across something like this ever before in his life. Maybe this place had never been explored by anyone because of its remoteness. He was glad that he had reached here before any other photographer. The mountain, that is a true story that must be told. For a heart cannot any longer hold what it can bear. So, my friends, here the story of an steadfast mountains of grits, comforts, and pain. It has stood the test of the time, and amazingly, everything is still fine. The story doesn't just end here. Listen to what I ask in my prayer. That's God. Give me the eternity of the mountain and the dignity the hills, the hillock contains. Then I stand against the mighty mountain. I owe in a praise and in a sort of an calm. There is somebody I can blindly trust. When I'm going through hurt, grief, and mistrust, oh God, I am in love, and the mountain in my beloved. Shh! A bird suddenly flew over his head, and he ducked like a batsman who had just avoided a bouncer. He looked at the bird, he had never seen another like it. Despite being a nature and a wildlife photographer, and he kept looking until it flew away and disappeared from the scene into the wild forest in the blink of an eye. Strange, he said to himself. Raman walked towards the huge open patch of a land, closer towards the lake. While he was walking, he looked at the grass, which was quite different from the one he saw in the cities. The grass in the jungle was greener, more glossy, and bursting with the life. In contrast, in the cities, it was faded and worn out. Cities diminish everything, he had said to himself. He was awestruck by the quality of the water in the lake. The water was bluntly blue and so transparent that one could easily see the aquatic plants and the colorful fishes inside. The sparkling water clearly reflected the enormous trees that surrounded the lake. Raman was a loss of for the words. He stood there, awestruck, stunned by the picture's skew, glorious view. And he shot the second picture. Everything that he was looking at was goading him to shoot. Shoot and shoot. In the photographic language, it is called as subjects. He found that in the land, everything was a subject. He sat on the banks of the lake to release the pervading tranquility, wondering whether he was on the earth or on the some other planet he has just discovered. Sitting beside that river, you feel that the river turns its course and flows around towards your heart, which is longing to flow in tandem with the magical river. Sometimes you feel that the tree, instead of standing upright over you, comes down and sits just beside you while the river goes by, glittering, murmuring, and tranquil. And the grass just beneath you may have eyes, so it could look at you while you look at back it and start a conversation. Don't you feel like this when you are with the nature? It doesn't just end here. The gentle breeze that is going by, you wish that it flows faster and it feels like a woman is touching your cheeks. The woman you and forever in love with. Are you in love with the nature? Don't nature sometimes sounds like the women you are in love with? Raman was in love with the nature. He was deeply in the love with the breeze, the colors, the shapes, the figures, and the touch. He wanted all his five scenes to swallow the natures in its eternity. He wanted the nature to be with him forever, to be his compassion, but how could be that? He simply couldn't do it. The jungle of an Hastur was like a nude woman who wanted you to come close and look at her gorgeous look, but refused altogether once you tried to touch her. She wanted her body to be things to be longed for but not touched. All Raman could do now was to shoot her air, nature with his camera. He believed that the nature was like a nude woman, would should be presented in an atheistic manner. Vulgarity would kill the art. He would seek an sensuousness and emotion in the photographs he took in the jungle. Who are you? Somebody shouted this question from behind Raman. And what's it is in your hand? I am Raman, a photographer. Raman replied. This is a professional camera in my hand. Raman looked at the man. He was tall, bearded, and robust man with a stout boy. Dark skin, flat nose, wearing a visor sort of colorful headgear adorned with an exotic features. He was nude except for his leon cloth and carried a kind of an dagger in his hand. The man came closer to Raman, looked at him curiously, and took the camera from him. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Raman exclaimed. First answer me. What is that black thing, huh? The man asked suspiciously. It struck Raman that he had to win the trust of this man if he wants to stay in the jungle. He seems like a leader of the tribal. Well, it is called as camera, and I took photographs with this, replied Raman, looking them the man in his eye. And what is the photograph? And it seems more like a gun. No, no, it is not a gun. If you give it back to me, I can tell you what it is, said Raman with a smile, trying to placate the man. Raman took a photo from the tribal and showed it to him on the flip side. The tribal seemed convinced. He explained that he was here to photograph the jungle and that he wished to capture this beauty. For this, he needed his help. Thus began Raman's quest. Shika's journey. Mr. Ghosh is one of the greatest painters of the country. It is an honor that he has appreciated my paints and expressed interest in honoring my skills. It is a great privilege. Now the ball is in my court. All I have to do now is to make the most of it. I will be leaving tomorrow morning for Delhi. Mr. Ghosh has already arranged for my stay in his home. It will be great staying in his home with the swamps which artist all the time. I'm glad I'm getting this opportunity. Shika's headed to Delhi. Her dream seems within her reach now. An solo exhibition in the capital city. She had a plan to make her dream come true. Good morning, Mr. Ghosh, said Shika with a gentle smile. Good morning, Shika. I have been waiting for your arrival since morning. Come, let me show you your room. I know you would come one day. It shows your sincerity towards your work. Come. Mr. Ghosh had a small house that believed his statures or as an artist. Though a renowned and an established painter, he believed in living a simple life. He took Shika to a room at the rear of the house. It was a small room with a table, chair, and a bed and an attached toilet. Two large windows allowed in enough light and air. Shika was more than happy with the room. Even if it has a better bed, she would have lived happily. She had her brush and canvas with her. She didn't need anything more. Mr. Ghosh lived with his wife. They have no children. A man of around 70 years, though he seems like not a day over 50 years. He painted the whole day through and something, the whole night too, even days and nights all combined. That's what that was the way he had been working for the last 50 years, painting quickly. Shika, Betty, we have no children. So far now onwards, you will be staying with us as our child only, said Mr. Ghosh in a warm tone. Sir, I have been your daughter since the day you have asked me to come and learn under you. I am glad that you have chosen me. I will do my best. That you will do, I know, and I know you will make it big one day. Thank you, sir. You have left behind my family, friends, home, everything that you have. It is a huge sacrifice. Sir, I love them all, but to learn painting, I am willing to do this. I will teach you whatever I have learned. I wish you to carry forward my legacy. Thus begins Shika's quest. Rana's journey. John Steinberg lived a dangerous life. He was bold and courageous. Born into a wealthy family, he chooses to live home and live among the farmers, downtrodden and poor. I have been grown up on his book and doing research on him in my dream. Now that I have been chosen by the University of Triton on a full scholarship, I will make sure that I devote the coming 2 or 3 years exclusively to the literacy studies. It is a dream come true. Literature is my first love and it is going to be something that will remain my first love forever. Rana left for US for higher studies. Thus begins Rana's journey. The love story once upon a time. Rana, what was the wet, wet lip? These lyrics are well about wet, wet lips, she asked, looking so innocent. I don't know, it is just the lyrics. Sometimes Bollywood lyrics are senseless. But there must be some reason for calling them wet. She asked with a giggle. I really don't know. I don't watch Bollywood movies anyway, replied Rana curtly. Sometimes it seems that she is so bored, or it is just that she is bored and has nothing else to amaze herself with. You're so beautiful. Aren't the boys in your college after you? I asked, curiosity getting the better of me. They are after me, but I haven't found anyone attractive yet. They are all alike. I'm not interested. Are you trying to find someone? No, I will just marry whomsoever my mom chooses. Wouldn't you rather choose someone for yourself? I would like to do, but I love and respect my mom. I will marry the one she chooses for me. Oh, great. Something hits me very hard. Thought you were just friends and talked for hours. I had absolutely no idea what had happened to me. I just knew that I was enjoying talking to her. Nothing more than that. It was just 19. This was the first girl with whom I was sharing my thoughts and my time is so intensively. I have no ulterior motivation whatsoever while I was talking with her. No intention to love her, make love, or even just angle for a kiss. I just wanted to talk and talk and talk. That was all I loved. So why was I so disturbed? I just couldn't figure it out. When I saw her for the first time, she was sitting among the hordes of the other people at the marriage wedding ceremony. I'm just 16 years old then, but she stood out of a crowd. Why? Simple because she has been sleeping and she was looking so decent, dressed in a red salwar kurta without any makeup and also looking mysterious because nobody could figure her out. She rarely spoke a word. She wasn't what people call extraordinary. She looked like other small town girl with no airs and style, quite simple and serene. Thank you.